The fog had returned long before Selin realized she hadn't truly left the town. She had driven for what felt like hours, perhaps days, through endless empty roads, the van groaning beneath her, and the world outside melting into a soft, gray blur. It was only when she checked the rearview mirror and saw nothing, no road, no trees, not even sky, that she began to feel it, the pull, like an invisible thread tugging her back. Selin stopped only when the van's fuel gauge hit empty. Somewhere deep in the wilderness, where no birds sang and no insects hummed, she found a crumbling gas station, half swallowed by vines and time. She left the van behind and barricaded herself inside the old office. It had a desk, a broken chair, and a wall of dust-covered shelves filled with faded invoices. No food, no water, but it was silent, blessedly, comfortingly silent. She stayed there. She wasn't sure for how long. Time bent strangely in that place, stretching and folding in on itself like breath on a cold mirror. Sometimes it felt like hours passed in minutes. Sometimes a single blink carried her from day to night and back again. But the silence didn't last. It started with the radio. Though unplugged, cracked, and visibly dead, it emitted faint static from time to time. At first, Selin thought she was imagining it, the way a lonely mind invents patterns in white noise. But then the static shifted gently, like a tide pulling back before a wave. She began to hear it, whispers. Not words, not really, but tones, inflections. Something was speaking in that frequency, just below the threshold of language, and she could feel it listening. Selin began writing everything down. Names, dates, her memories. The ritual, Neeson's face, as she walked into the basement. The voices in the walls, but even the notebook began to betray her. Pages she was sure she had written changed overnight. Sentences she hadn't written appeared in her own handwriting. Phrases like, "We are closer now, and he knows your sound." Once, she found a full paragraph addressed to her directly. It said, "You silenced them. Now silence yourself." Sleep became dangerous. Whenever she closed her eyes, the same dream would return. Always the same hill, the same enormous, blackened tree standing like a monument to something ancient and terrible. From its branches hung figures, swaying with no wind. Their mouths were sewn shut, their eyes wide open, staring at her. Below the hill, the town glowed faintly, not ruined, not decayed, but alive, breathing. On the third night of the dream, a woman appeared beneath the tree. She wore a black dress, and her mouth too was sewn shut. But when she looked at Selin, Selin heard her anyway, not with her ears, but inside her skull. "You silenced the screams," the woman said, "but not the source." Selin woke, gasping for air, her throat raw, her heart thundering. She couldn't ignore it anymore. She couldn't run from it. Something had followed her. Or maybe she had never truly left Grey Hill at all. Her body may have escaped, but something inside her, some sound, was still echoing through those empty streets. So she walked. She abandoned the gas station and followed her instincts through woods and fog and half-roads that led nowhere, no compass, no signs, only a sensation in her chest that grew heavier with each step, a strange ache in her ears, like she was diving into deep water. And then, it was there, the sign. It was twisted and rusted, almost unrecognizable under layers of rot and moss, but the letters were still clear. Grey Hill Pop Zero. Beneath it, in fresh red paint that hadn't been there before, a new message had been scrawled. You never left. The town had changed. The buildings no longer crumbled. The school was whole again, its windows unbroken, its doors freshly painted. Smoke rose from some chimneys, but no one walked the streets. It felt staged, rebuilt from memory, or from someone's memory of a dream. Selin's legs carried her to the school, though every part of her screamed to run the other way. The moment she stepped inside, she felt it pressure in the air, like walking underwater. The scent of candles and dust, the feeling of being watched. She wandered the halls in a daze. Everything was in place, desks aligned, chalkboard clean. An old bell above the classroom door ticked, though it never rang. She stopped at a cracked picture frame on the wall. A class photo, yellowed and faded. Her stomach dropped. She was in it. Standing at the far edge of the group, wearing unfamiliar clothes, eyes wide with something like fear. She reached out to touch the glass. but her fingers passed right through it. She turned at the sound of music, a soft melody like a music box winding down. It drew her up the stairs, past classrooms, until she found the auditorium. The room pulsed with candlelight. Shadows danced along the walls, curling like smoke. A woman stood on the stage. It was her, the woman from her dreams. Her lips were sewn, but the music came from her, deep and mournful, a lullaby in a language that made Selen's bones ache. And behind her, stretching along the wall like a second spine, was a shadow that wasn't hers. He had returned. The Shadow Man. His form was clearer now. No longer just a silhouette, but a shape. Arms too long, head slightly tilted, like he was listening. Selen tried to scream, but no sound came out. Her voice had gone. The woman on the stage extended a hand, and her presence pressed into Selen's mind. You brought the silence out of Greyhill. Now you must carry it deeper. The Shadow Man stepped forward, but instead of attacking, he knelt to her. And in that moment, Selen understood. The silence hadn't followed her. It had chosen her. A warmth bloomed in her throat, not pleasant like something rising from within, something old and bitter. A soundless scream trapped inside her chest. The candles blew out one by one, until the room fell into perfect, suffocating darkness. Selen collapsed, and when she opened her eyes again, she was in a hospital bed. Sterile light, machines humming, a nurse at her side. You're awake, the nurse said cheerfully. We didn't think you'd come back. You were found unconscious near an old town. Greyhill, I think it was called. Though no one's lived there for years. Selen tried to speak. No sound came. The nurse didn't notice. You're lucky, she continued, fluffing the pillow. The storm must have carried you pretty far. You were alone out there. Selen raised her hand slowly, trembling. There was something written on her palm, not in ink, etched like a scar. I am listening.